Hello YouTube family, James Green, short series Shenanigans. So, episode 5. Like I said when I started this is episode 5 of the Grizzly G0776 tailstock rebuild extravaganza, can of worms. Wow. But, you know what? I always try to find the positive. So, as I said in the beginning, and I did in last video to recap, I wanted to basically just do a basic drill through, build a shaft. I was thinking 3, maybe 4 episodes tops. Well, as you've seen if you've watched the other previous videos, that wasn't the case. So the next morning after doing the weld build-up, we've got it back over here on the mill table. So I have now this is an import granite plate, so don't freak out. Everyone's like, oh my gosh. And yes, I use my mill table for other things. We still have this set up. I didn't take it down. Lapping in. So I knew I didn't want to have to do superheating, whatever. And we ended up having to because, number one, to recap, the original crack that I found, another viewer found another one. Again, thanks Tobias, that was awesome. There was another one that appeared over here, and so we had to go in and, you know, drill that, stop it, and then while I was at it, I did some weld buildup over here, silicon bronze. Now, I've already done a little bit. Everyone's like, why the round piece? I have some, I made a big disc for my shopsmith, and I have some big zirconia pads that are really great. This 60 grit. Did some spray tack. So this is why you want to buy, I actually got this from Grizzly several years ago. I think it was like 30 bucks shipped, one of the small ones. It's, let's see the dimensions on it. Let me grab a tape measure. Usually when you need a tape, you can't find one. So it's a 9 by 12. So yeah, inexpensive. This one I use for lapping in. This is not anything my nice one is underneath that little deal over there from Standards Granite, and it is protected by a rubber pad and a wooden shelf above it. So I knew that going in here this is going to change. So you can see a little bit where we've already started cleaning it up. So I just kind of threw it on there real quick a little bit. Now what you can do, so it'll show up better for the camera, is we're going to grab, you could use Sharpie marker. I happen to have some Prussian blue for video purposes. I'm going to use the Prussian blue here. Or layout fluid, whatever you want to call it. Not Prussian blue. It's morning. I'm sorry. Prussian blue is used for valve work, which we'll be doing some of that. That's why I had that on the brain. So we're going to come over here with the Dicam. There we go, not Prussian blue. The blue Dicam, you can get it in red. We'll just slap some on here. So I didn't want to have to go this far with this, but okay. Finding what I found, and even over here on this side when I talked about, I went in here and did a lot of build up because I did look at it. I looked and looked and I figured out, and this was really thin in here. Once I removed all the cavities, this was obviously the casting sprue where it came into the sand mold, and they just covered it up with Bondo. I dug all that nastiness out, and it was pretty thin. So we laid some silicone bronze on there for strengthening. Now we are going to put some body filler back over this when we get done, so you're not going to see all this. I'm going to actually throw this on the mill, and I'll face mill this down relatively smooth. I got to go retap. I'm going to run tap through these threaded holes again for the adjustment. So basically we're going to give this thing an overhaul. I'm trying to blow on that a little bit. Move you guys over here. I'm going to step around. I have a sneaking suspicion my compressor might kick on, so I'm going to go shut it off just so it doesn't during the video. Oh yeah, it was at that stage. So alright, so what we're going to do here, you guys can see, take a little air, real gentle like, sorry about that, Dry it out so we can go ahead and start lapping it in. Alright, so purely this is for camera purposes. Slide you guys back. Alright, so we're going to flip this back over here. Oh, tack adhesive. So I sprayed some down even though this was adhesive back. Tack adhesive is your friend. You pick this up anywhere, a couple different brands. There you go if you guys are curious. And this cleans up real easy. When we get done, we pull it off. And then you can just clean it up with carb cleaner, WD-40. It'll pull the adhesive stuff off. Real easy to clean up. All right, now that this is dried, I'm doing this, the layout fluid you guys can see here. And we're just going to go. You can see how high or off we are because of, you know, the heat that was applied to. So we're just going to keep going till that goes away. I'm going to do it on camera here. Whoop. You know what? Let me grab a clamp. Where is? This is where these types of clamps come in handy. Throw this on the back. I love these things. And it's just to hold the deal in place. Now this is 60 grit, so it's pretty aggressive. It's going down pretty quick, but we know that this is, I'll even do the top. Now I've got some oilers coming. So you can see that was rough cast. Now the ball oilers that were in here, there's literally a spring with a ball that holds up in there, and you put oil in here. I've seen people take on ball oilers. On one of my old videos, my old lathe, my Grizzly my small one, I can't even remember, G0601 or whatever it was, my small bench top, or my small 10x22 Grizzly lathe. I remember that an individual contacted me and said, yeah, I bought that same lathe you did, but the oil just runs out. Well, it's supposed to. He said, so on the headstock, I was worried about, you know, oil just running out. Well, it's supposed to. You're supposed to run a thick oil. You oil it daily. He said, so I pulled it out and I put grease zerks in, and I don't have to worry about the grease will hold. And I thought, wow. So yeah, you don't want to put grease on a lathe in that area because it's going to hold and tear up bearings. So yeah, you don't want to do that. So you can go on. I was able to find a buyer, or not a buyer, a seller stateside that sold like 25-minute pack for like $5 shipped or something. So I ordered a whole pack of 25 or whatever it is in the pack. You can order them and they come from China. About the same price, but you're gonna have to wait a lot longer. So they just press in. They're just a real thin-walled brass spring with a ball, and that's all it does. Is it just keeps the dust out. One of them had actually went bad. I guess the spring, and you can't, when you take them out, you tear them up. They're a consumable item. There's no saving them, but they are relatively inexpensive to order. Back to lapping, all that good stuff. So. Plus you have to give your arms a break. Applying some downforce now to get we're getting there. It's going to take some doing. But that's got me flat enough where we can do the next operation, and I want to do that on camera. So what do you do when your paper loads up? You come over here, you blow it off, and you can keep going. But that's got it flat enough for my next deal. I'm going to move you guys over here. Boom. All right. Take my hat off. It's starting to get warm in here. All right. So the next thing is get my light over here, and it's little. There we go. All right. I'm going to show you what I did set up. We're going to repeat because I want to go through and drill. Oh, might help if I get it clear. Right here. We're going to get our little jack stand, and that's in, and then I know, I'm sorry, I'm right in the way. Try to get you guys, you can see what's going on here. Okay, step around here, here's this, T-nut coming in. Again, we're not clamping down hard. And now that right there. All right. We're just holding this in place. Now we're going to get our big. I've already had people ask, this is a big Jorgensen. Big old school, and I fixed this in one of the other videos. So we're going to come over here with the Jorgensen. And that's just to hold this in place. Now, actually what I need to do, there's an easy way to, so I don't have to center again. So I'm going to show you how I like to cheat. Well, it's not really cheating, but you loosen it up. We'll slide that down there to where it's already kind of lined up a little bit. Now, certain people might be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? That's a good way to tear up tools. Well, it could be if it's really expensive bits, but this just gets us back to what we're at. And again, I've got like 6 more of these, so I'm not really worried about it. But it got me close to where we need to be. Slid it down in there. You know, if it looks silly and it works, then it's not silly, right? Isn't that how that goes? All right, now we're going to lock it back down. That way I don't have to slide the table around and do all this. Well, where did it set exactly? And all right. Move this up and clamp right there. Make sure we're good to go. Come back in here. Move my thread. There we go. All right, that'll hold it in place for what we're doing. All right, so that's how I like to cheat, if you will. All right, and now we also got to crank this back up like before, because we got to go all the way through. Before I do, I'm going to fire that up. Pull the oil on the mill. Noise warning, noise warning, noise warning. So if you guys have headphones on, I'm going to start the rotary phase converter. mill. Voila, one pass. Look at that. Oh, the bore is now cleaned up. Quick and easy, nothing difficult. Take this one off first. Little tricks like that. Because I knew I was gonna, and I'm still gonna leave that set up. Well, that should be it, because we're not gonna do any more major heating and a beating on it. So, little tricks like that to make things go faster. Slide that back out of the way and down. And I'm going to drop the knee down. Alright. So, take a look at the inside here. Try to dump that stuff on the ground. So the bore is in real good shape as far as it wasn't off too much. We did cut out the brass. I don't know if it'll show it on, but we did cut brass on this side in here when I come through. Same thing over here. And of course it dressed up some of this. But so the next thing I'm going to be doing, because I really don't want to drag you guys through boring, tedious, monotonous on video. The next thing I'm going to set up and do, and I'll do, you know, I'll talk you through it. I'm going to set up boring, and I'll do a little video on that because there's a neat way to, I hadn't done a boring video. It's not very interesting when you're doing boring videos, but boom, 10,000 comedians out of a job. And I'm a hobbyist machinist. So we're going to go ahead and cut this down to size, the length that we want, and it has to be bored, opened up to fit this. Now I will do that on video, because if I didn't do it on video, it would be boring. I'll be here all week. So there we go. Back to lapping. I got a little bit more to lap in. I'm not going to do that on video. I'm gonna run a tap through every hole on this thing. I mean, you know, I had to heat the whole thing up. I didn't want to have to go this far, but once I got the Bondo off and found all this mess, plus I'm gonna set up and face mill this, and I may do that just because I hadn't done a face milling video, so that would probably be pretty interesting. Now I'll show that one on video. I'll set up and do that. I'll pull all this other stuff out of the way here. But, because that would make an interesting video, might as well. And we'll actually do that next, I think, is we'll figure out a setup. We'll figure out what level is for this, get it set up, and so that'll be the next thing. I'm going to leave this on here for rigidity purposes, okay? You know, if you guys have a Bridgeport or you're going to get one, invest in setup blocks, you know, big angle block. This is a big one. I'm going to leave this on here so I can brace up against it for my face mill op. I'll come in here and I'll figure out how I want to brace up and secure and clamp and all that. But that's just an automatic. We're going to leave that there. Lots of jacks. Those are handy. Other things that are handy, and I'll just show you so I don't have to pick them up. But I keep down here things that are handy to have or get. Big chunk of aluminum for setup, holding, welding. Now that's just a big piece of aluminum angle. There's another piece over there that I picked up recently. Aluminum angle, a long piece. I've got a couple of vices over there that are used for round stock. More setup blocks. you know, V blocks if you're going to do any type of shafting or whatever. Big V blocks are handy, stuff like that. These are not precision ground for grinding or anything, but I've ground them and they're squared up for doing setup on the mill for stuff just like this. So, I mean, heck, I got 10 minutes left. Let's just, and you guys will see it. Let's go ahead and take this out. You guys get to see some of my, I'll back you up just a little bit, and you can see me at work, because this is what I want to eventually do. Live videos from the feed. So let's go ahead and take this off. Take this out. Wait, I'm trying to think. Righty, tighty, lefty. Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. Yeah, I see where Ray Cornelia and a couple others bought some ER collets over the holiday. See, I told you I had turned that down to 9/16. That was pretty interesting. This is an ER 32 collet set. I haven't ever checked how accurate it is, but I've been pleased with it. The ER R8 to ER 32 was actually from Bolton Tools out in California. They made that. I haven't checked it. I guess I should sometime. But what we're going to be putting in next is we'll select a cutter that we're going to use for this. I mean, there's a myriad. I've got a bunch of different ones, and that's the other thing. It's like, which cutter head do I want to use? You know, I used to have some handy and set up, but still trying to. Here's what I talk about. It's trying to find everything where it's put up. You know what? I'm not going to do that on video right now. I will look through, find out what I need, and I'll do a setup on the video. I'll get set up, find all my items, and then we'll just go through the iteration of, okay, here's how, and I'll actually do the setup, tooling, we'll do the cutting, the milling. That's the next step that we should do before we take this off and start doing boring the eccentric out and stuff like that. So there you go. Joy, joy, joy. So if you guys have any questions, my public email address, eagledustoff37@gmail.com. Holler at me. Thanks for all the comments. I appreciate it. And until next time, get out in your garage, do something. Take care of yourself and take care of your family, because at the end of the day, you and your family is all you got. Till next time, have fun.